You are born in Sirgali. You are the child of River Kaveri, and you know the agricultural workers' issues. And from Kaveri, you traveled to Tirunamalai, and from there you went to Amazon River, Rhone River, Rhine River, English Channel, Nile, and it's something that you have traveled through all these rivers. And now you know the people of these rivers, and especially the working class, the plantation workers. You have a rich experience, like Paulo Freire interacted with the plantation workers in his own country. You have also interacted with the plantation workers in Malaysia, and the agriculture workers in Tamil Nadu, etc. And you have also traveled through the philosophies, right, starting from Buddha till Paulo Freire, through many Western, Eastern, Indian scholars. And now, with this experience, you have come out with your book, In Search of Education. What is this? I hope this is a bigger project, and your present book is only a part of that bigger project. And what you are trying to do in that bigger project, and what attempt you have made in this book. Can you say to us in a brief manner?
No, it's a very big question. The thing is, I tell you the second part, the latter part of your question, what I try to do in the bigger platform. So education has to have a greater impact in the way in which social transformation is taking place or evolving, or economic transformation is taking place in any region in the society. Say, that means the kind of education that we want to have should have a greater impact in the society. So when society is more socially driven as opposed to economically driven in a region, then it must have a greater impact in the society or the social transformation. So education has to be a catalyst, should play a catalytic role in the social transformation and other national growth and other transformation that the society faces. So that means the bigger impact that I would like to create through the society-driven education that I have initially introduced in this book is a social pedagogy. A social pedagogy. The society is completely endogamous, comprised of endogamous units. So these units have no mechanisms to exchange each other, the needs, the plights, the problems, the challenges, the questions, all those things. So that means that the societal components, the units or the social groups in the society must be able to engage in dialogue. Only then there will be a kind of a social cohesion, or at least a social reconciliation is possible. So not only for social cohesion or social reconciliation, but also for knowledge productivity. The knowledge comes when diverse issues are being amalgamated and come out with synthesized and come out with a new idea or new solutions. So that means a human experience is knowledge, and human experience is not exploited properly in India because the societies are, the components of the societies are highly endogamous and divided. So that means this country needs a social pedagogy to be inculcated there in the society. So before then, I want society-driven education to be practiced in education, in the formal education system, so that this will lead to a kind of a social pedagogy to be practiced in the society. That way, we can improve the practice of the exchange of ideas, knowledge, and things, so that it will create more propagation of knowledge. The knowledge productivity of the society, educative capacity of the society will increase. So normally a society has educative capacity, and that capacity will improve only when there is when the society is democratic, when the society is democratically engaging all its constituent units, and when there is a large-scale transformation, exchange of ideas taking place among the different components of the society. So that is not happening. So that means a social pedagogy is very much needed now. And when we do that there, it is contributory. The society-driven education from the formal education and the social pedagogy as a kind of a practice happening in the society, both will be contributory to each other so that the educative capacity of the society will improve. So what do I mean by educative capacity of the society is, a society is normally engaged through its human experience on the problems and the challenges it faces, and it raises above the impediments it faces. It could be economic impediments or social impediments or social disadvantages or caste system, whatever it is. So all those things, it comes above, it overcome above and try to solve itself through its own innovations or knowledge or solutions, and the discourses it involves is the kind of social pedagogy I'm talking about. So that will improve the educative capacity of the society. The educative capacity of the society in India is not at all going on the upward trend, because we are all divided as caste and creed and cult, and we are prevented from each other to exchange each other the ideas and plights and experience. Since the experience is not exchanged among the constituent members of the society, so that freezes the knowledge productivity, and the educative capacity of the society is standstill, and it is not improving. So to improve the educative capacity of the society, education, the formal education in schools and universities should be able to do its own piece of work. That kind of philosophy that is needed there is society-driven education. If this happens here, the extended part of the society-driven education will tweak the society to implement or make education as a social function there in the society, that eventually it will improve educative capacity of the society. So that is the larger pattern, and the smaller pattern now we have, it is not smaller, it is a perfect and a long-term pattern, but this is for the formal education, the society-driven education.
Sir, you are talking about society-driven education. I hope it is not only for India, it is for communities living in different parts of this world, for entire people, especially the subalterns who are raising their voices against oppression of all forms. Can you throw some light on what do you mean by society-driven education?
Actually, a society is constituted by many social groups or individuals in different parts of the world. So most often what happens, those who dominate the society they try to inculcate the kind of the knowledge or subject matters of instruction in formal education. So this has been the history and experience the world has seen. So because of that, as you said, rightly said, that the subaltern people, who are eventually majority also everywhere, and they are in a subdued manner, their ideas, their knowledge, and their lifestyle or conditions are not reflected in the curriculum or in the subject matters of instruction. So what matters more in formal education is subject matters of instruction. That is the content, I would say. The content must be dynamic. The society always transforms on its own organically. And so that means the curriculum should be able to dynamically reflect the organic growth of the or transformation of the society and the necessary ingredients. So most often those who are at the authority of the society, which is always eventually a micro minority community, that sets the agenda, and that agenda eventually becomes the subject matters of instruction. So when the society's experience and the society's challenges are dynamically incorporated as subject matters of instruction, the education will in turn satisfy the demands or needs of the society through producing right graduates or educated citizenry. This citizenry would contribute the social discourses through its profession or its activities, their activities in the righteous way. So this has been prevented by the nationalistic education, jingoistic education, and also the neoliberal order that has set the agenda. So now the neoliberal order, the corporate world, has said that this is the skill that you should provide, and this is the knowledge that you should provide, which is confined, which is defined by the corporate world. And most of the higher education institutions in India, almost 100%, I would say that they are trying to meet the demands of the corporate world. This is one side. The other side is the society, which dominates the society, the social group which dominates the society. They try to come out with their kind of agenda, their experience, and their longings and demands to be translated into subject matters of instruction in the classroom. That becomes the syllabus. So the curriculum is in a biased way, is trying to incorporate only the likes, the dislikes, and the challenges and the experience of the dominant community, not the majority community at the bottom. So that means if a nation wants to be prospered, and if the society should be an equitable society, and which should prosper in all respect, socially, economically, politically, and so on, then the curriculum instantly should be able to cultivate and conceive the human experience of all walks of life, all communities comprised in the society. So by that way, that will be reflected, the needs of all walks of life will be reflected in the curriculum, and the curriculum will give the content that is of value to the society, that will reflect the social demands and society's demand and everyone's demand. Eventually it will play a catalytic role, so that the offspring it will also be contributing to the economy, to national growth, and so on. Why I'm saying that society-driven education is also equated, is going to improve the economic conditions of the country, means human experience is the source of knowledge. Simultaneously, the same experience is the source of economic opportunities. Because when a society or a community or an individual in the society confronts with a kind of a problem and challenges, that component of the society tries to solve it, and it tries to achieve it. In that way, it is going to involve in a societal endeavor, and that endeavor is the human experience. And that endeavor, in satisfying its demand, the society will come up with an opportunity called economic opportunity. That will be a commodity, that might be a system or a service, whatsoever. So that means human experience is the source of economic opportunities. If human experience is properly conceived and cultivated into educational program and also into research program, then it is going to come back with more patentable and commodity products that are going to serve the society. So more and more economic opportunities will evolve. So that is the way. Unless you have a society-driven education, even economic opportunities cannot be propagated or improved. So that means the curriculum should instantaneously, without segregation, it should conceive and cultivate all human experience and translate them into subject matters of instruction, so that continually, dynamically, if that happens, that it is going to serve the society in many ways, and morally, ethically, culturally, all will be in a civilized manner. It will go ahead. And also, the United Nations Millennium Goal says that people at the age of 15 to 29 are considered as youths. That is the definition of United Nations organization. So during this time, they must be molded, they must be groomed, they must be prepared to face the challenges of the society, to face the challenges of the personal challenges as well, the familyhood, everything. So that means these people should be, the education should focus on civic participation and political participation. It is not just exclusively the subject knowledge. So civic participation means producing a good citizenry. And political participation means politics is what? Curriculum. When you talk about textbooks, textbook is not just a textbook, it is a political document of the nation state. The nation state always will come and put its agenda into the textbook. That becomes a political document. It is not just a book. That is why all nations all over the world, after the colonialization, all countries have developed their own relevant subjects. But after they conquer their own country, these people, the nation state which were established, they try to control the first standard to 12th standard all curriculum textbooks. The reason is it is a political mandate. It's a political document through which they can bring all the students, the youths from the age of 15 to 29 into their fold. They can listen the nation state, they can listen the national agenda. That is why we don't want nationalistic education, we want society-driven education. So that is how I want that society-driven education has to be the solution. It is not only a solution to India, a solution to majority of the countries. Almost all countries, even a kind of a discrimination, segregation is happening in the United States, in Europe, in Malaysia, every country. So that means society-driven education is a global phenomena, and we must propagate not only in India, it must be taken away and all over the world, including United States, where the Aboriginal, Hispanic, Indian people are facing problems. They were isolated, their needs were isolated, and their demands were not reflected in the education. Similarly, everywhere. So that is why the best solution to fix all problems that we have economic problem, we have livelihood problem, we have no jobs. And we also are facing a social inequality and suppressions. To address all these problems, one single solution is society-driven education. If society is properly engaged in research and education, it is going to increase livelihood, job opportunity through economic opportunities. And also it is going to eliminate the notion of the superior caste, the inequality existing in society structure.
You mean to say that a MBBS student, a doctor who comes from a medical college, you should know how to dismantle the discriminatory social order, the caste. You mean to say that a student of BTech studying in IIT, what they call brand IIT, he should discuss about annihilation of caste. A person coming out of Anna University must know what is the judicial utilization of land. If land is going to produce food for us, it should be used for any other purpose, or it should be used only for food purpose. The critical entitlement of people. You want every section of the college or university to discuss about the society. That way you want the university's intervention in the society and society's intervention in the university, and thereby the entire socio-economic and political development really takes place. I hope you are, in Indian context, you are placing this society-driven education, the philosophy of society-driven education in this 21st century, you are initiating. I hope how Paulo Freire's thoughts brought in a great discussion and resulted in the socio-economic and political development of South American people. I hope your philosophy that you are placing the social-driven education will also lead to such a positive dialogue and development. You were talking about 15 to 29. The draft policy says the students should be educated right from 3 years. I hope nobody will deny a child between 3 and 8 develops fully. But what they are talking in draft policy about this 3 and 8, and how do you want that the children between 3 and 8 to be taken care of?
Actually, the draft policy says that between 3 and 8, the brain grows fast, and the brain is capable to grasp all quickly, better than the adults, all information or knowledge. So that is the reason they say. Biologically, it could be the scientific reason, but educationally, I think it is a wrong idea. The thing is, they say that if we put the students, the kids between the age of 3 to 8 at schools, then they are going to be mentored, and they are going to, they call it as the foundational program. Foundational they stage. Say it's a foundational stage. The foundation stage means, why they bring foundation stage, they say, why they say foundation stage is that necessary, because during the preparatory stage, after 8 years, during the preparatory stage, the student is not prepared on literacy and numeracy. Because of that, higher education fails. That is the invention of the policy. So that means they try to convince that because the students are not prepared for higher education in higher studies or in secondary studies properly, they are failing there. Because of that, they are dropped out. Only because of numeracy, lack of numeracy and literacy, students are dropped out is the invention that I never ever heard in any part of the world. Because even in United States, recent invention is people are not, students are not failing in education because of their lack of preparatory knowledge or foundational knowledge, but because of their economic conditions and social conditions. So these are the adversaries facing the people. But anyway, this is their invention. So they say that they have to go ahead and prepare the students from 3 years old so that they will get good foundation, so they will be better prepared in numeracy and literacy after 8 years, so that they will be better off. But the problem is, numeracy, literacy shouldn't be the aim of the kids. The kids are better prepared in the society, in the family. They must be immersed more and more in society. A kind of a social immersion must what the government should facilitate, or education sector should facilitate, instead of bringing them and putting them in four walls. The other question is, who is there to groom them better than the mother? Science says mother is the best teacher until the age of 8. So the kid should be more placed with proximity of the mother other than the teacher.
And that is why they say they are going to give syllabus for mother.
Yeah, they are going to also teach mother. They also want to teach the mother in their own fold. It is kind of an indoctrination, sir. The main thing is their agenda is completely different. Their agenda is they want to intoxicate. They want to indoctrinate the kids, the future kids, so that the nation will get a citizenry in the way that they expect. So they want to begin from 3 years old. And the practice, global practice says, many countries, European countries, OECD countries and United States also, there were some practice. Children going to schools at the age of 3 in the former country.
What they call is early childhood care and education.
Care and education. But even, could you see even 5% of the kids going there? It is optional. It is optional. It is not mandatory. And that too, it is not driven by the country. It is not driven by a national curriculum. So children when go to in the OECD countries, there are about 70 countries there. In OECD countries, children are encouraged only to stay back home, because husband and wife are sometimes going and they want to put there and they want to groom them with the right practices. That has become early childhood care education. But that is not formal. That is my idea. In no part of the world you will find ECCE as a formal education. Early childhood care.
Policy, they are bringing it as a formal.
It is a mandate. It is a mandate. It is a formal, and it is driven by nation. And the national curriculum framework is going to design the curriculum, not even the state. So this is it is against the philosophy of education, and it should be once for all thrown out, this idea. And the kids should be put more with mother and with the society. And the kids should be, instead of bringing them into the four walls, into the classroom, they must be given more orientation in the society. We can facilitate more programs there to get involved and communicate with others and communicate with rest of.
I hope the Anganwadis are playing that role, and that Anganwadi should be strengthened more. Where the parent participation and the societal participation takes place, and Anganwadi workers are paid better. They are given good salary, pension and other things. So that is how we have to strengthen the Anganwadis.
Strengthen the practices there at Anganwadis. That is also a little formal thing, but again that can be strengthened, as you said. But more social immersion is needed. So as a child belonging to scheduled caste, the child should be having an opportunity to play around with the backward class and forward communities, with their counterparts. So only then the child will get more orientations. It will learn against each other the problems facing by the other counterparts.
Not by tutoring.
Not by tutoring. That kind of a social immersion is needed. So instead of promoting more exchanges among the kids, among different walks of life, among different communities, and this policy is going to take them into the classroom and groom them in the way the nation state deserves.
Means they are trying to create a cult, and for creating a cult they need a child fresh at the age of 3 years. And how do you look at communalization part of this draft policy, that is education instead of being secular, instead of being diverse, instead of recognizing, does it end, that is lead to a particular nationhood or particular communal input to be dominating in this entire policy?
It is nothing but, I would say, a Hindutva. It's a kind of a social ideology these people wants to bring. And maybe not in the name of Hindutva.
I think so. Hindutva is very much against Hindu itself. Because in Hindu, you have Acharya Ramanuja, who said Vasudeva Kutumbakam, and who wanted everybody can wear the holy thread around them. In Hindu, you have Ramalinga Adigalar, who was talking about a spiritual life. But I think so they are talking very much against Ramalinga Adikala, the type of spirituality that he was talking about, the spiritual idea of Buddha, the spiritual idea of many people in India who were there to unite people, not to divide people in the names of caste and religion. But I think so this is against that Indian philosophy of celebrating that diversity.
They say it is a way of life. So as simple as that. They don't want to put them into a spiritual mode. They feel that spirituality doesn't do anything, is nothing to do with Hindutva. But they don't claim Hindutva, but it is Hindutva. But whatever they say for instance, they want all students somewhere in their course of time, from 3 years to until they complete their tertiary education, they have to continuously study the knowledge or the text in Sanskrit. And they say that classical language between from 6th standard to 8th standard is compulsory, 2 years, classical language. So that classical language should be other than your own language. So Tamil is considered as a classical language. The other classical language is Sanskrit. So Tamil people will be forced to study Sanskrit. You see, my point is in language problem is, I don't mind learning languages. It must be my desire, my option, my decision. The other second thing is, instead of asking people to learn language and study the knowledge in that language, why don't you convert all the languages, all the knowledges that are residing in all languages and translate them into their mother tongue? Say, if something is there in Sanskrit and translated into my mother language and I study it, I will be more envisioned, I will be more knowledgeable. Instead of me going and learning Sanskrit and learning the knowledge involved, instead, you translate it into my language. As a child, I will receive better than any other language in any other languages. So, but they are trying to inculcate Sanskrit as a language. The Sanskrit is not only a language, but it is a tradition. It has a value, it brings a value system. So what value system is it? The Sanskrit tradition was the one who burnt our mothers and grandmas in sati, the practice of sati. It was not practiced widely in southern India. It was practiced in some parts of the northern part, and where the Sanskrit was predominating the culture. And so that means the Vedas, the Upanishads, and the other Sanskrit literature they want to bring in. And those value system they have, those texts propagate, are going to be involved through Puranas. And you know what? I was so surprised to learn in the study in the National Education Policy draft, saying that if you read Panchatantra and Puranas, your emotional intelligence increases. To increase emotional intelligence, students will be taught Panchatantras and Puranas. It is stated there. So who discovered this idea? Emotional intelligence Buddha taught how to practice mind and apply mind so that you will be better off. You will not face suffering. So that is the notion, that is the emotional intelligence that we should inculcate, the practice of mind. Practice of mind will be better through critical pedagogy, critical thinking, instead of learning Puranas and Panchatantras. So these are all the ways that they want to bring the value system of this super speciality community.
And not the Thiruvalluvar's.
Yeah, like the Thiruvalluvar is a doctrine that the world has ever seen in any other part of the world. So that displays the ethics, the morality and lifestyles better than anybody. It doesn't preclude anything else that are attached to, that are related to lifestyles or life of the common man. So why it was not stated there? So that means they want to eliminate the parallel culture, the parallel the value system of the communities, and they want to inculcate one value system, one communal value system and culture, and they want to inculcate all those things. So that is what I collectively say nationalistic education. So that means that the Vedic system and the indirectly the Hindutva that they want to bring in through this education policy, and they have highlighted a lot of number of recommendations even a PhD student should also study that kind of a classical language. And it should be practiced more in higher education also, the Sanskrit literature and things. So I'm not against Sanskrit. It also has science. I don't mind it. But the problem is it should be put in a proper perspectives and with the proper ambience and opportunities in their own language, instead of imposing other language, other value system, and their own culture. So this is what we should resist.
They are trying to put in their communal agenda into the national capsule.
Yeah.
And they are trying to...
They don't want to stay, they don't want to do away the social system that we have, the caste system, the unequal, undemocratic caste system should be there. That is the agenda of the national education policy. So, because the education should try to democratize the society. Did you face anywhere in this document that they attempted to do it? Nothing. So the status quo of those at the upper strata of the society should be preserved. That is the essence that the education policy talks on, the Indianization, Indian-centric, Indian pride. So Indian pride means the value system of the super specialty community that sits at the top. That is what the policy says. It precludes and it doesn't engage all other parallel cultures and systems and other communities' reflections they don't want. So that is why that this policy is biased, and this policy will not do anything to the goodness of the society and to the growth of this nation as well. So even to the super specialty community, I would like to say that they also need a society-driven education. They are also under oppression because they are also have to go through the same indoctrination of this so-called the value system that they bring in, the one language, one identity, one thing. And the second point, you mentioned that the IITs, Anna universities, they should practice this, more than what they are doing now, is that diversity brings more innovation, diversity brings more knowledge propagation, diversity brings more critical thinking. So this is the scientific discourse the whole world has understood. So whereas do you see in IITs any diverse culture or diverse knowledge discourse being discussed in the classroom in subjects and pedagogy? Nothing. Even our doctors, our engineers are produced like extended machines, and they are not going to be useful in any way to the society except what they learn technically. So that means that this is not an education that we want in India.
Really, you are bringing before us Paulo Freire, who talked about dialogue method for liberation. He asked the student to question the teacher, and he asked the teacher to find the answer along with the student. Yeah. It is not that transferring the knowledge. But this draft policy in the 5th chapter, when talking about teacher objective, they say how in ancient India, teacher transferred the knowledge, and for the transferring knowledge, the teacher was provided all facilities by the society. So Albert Einstein wanted to question, Paulo Freire wanted to question, and Professor Jawahar Nesan also wants to question. But the policy, the draft policy says, be a skilled laborer, you will get a livelihood, you will get a life skill, and you will become a productive force economically. And for what that productive force is, that productive force for the market and market to earn money. And for that purpose, they want to allow the financial capital, global financial market to come into India. For allowing the global financial market to come into India, they do not want different states to have different structures, different regulation, different thing. Instead of celebrating the diversity which is unique for India, instead of recognizing the diversity in language, diversity in culture, diversity in learning process, they are trying to say one India, this one India is against India, and this one India is to kill the diversity. And I hope you are in search of education. The book which talks about the social-driven education, which has got many good responses to this draft national education policy, will become a subject for study at this period. It will become a debate, not only in India, but also throughout the world where the curriculums and policies are getting developed, where the people around the world are fighting against the WTO. Why they do not want education to come under WTO? Because WTO recognizes education as a commodity. So your book, yourself, along with all the struggling Marxists, you stand against commercialization or communalization of education. We will treat education as a secular social product for the good of the society. Thank you very much, sir, for having shared your much valuable time with us for this news clip. Thank you. Thank you very much.